Good morning, Black America. Grand Rising, beloved. I'm Crypto Stock Markets, and I'm here to turn digital sense into generational sense. Most people think the Federal Reserve runs the financial system. That's what everybody argues about. Interest rates, inflation, money printing. But the Federal Reserve is not the top of the pyramid. There's actually another institution sitting above central banks. It's called the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS. Most people have never even heard of it. The BIS was founded in 1930 and sits in Basel, Switzerland. And its job is simple. It coordinates the world's central banks, the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, and the People's Bank of China. When central bankers from around the world meet to discuss financial systems, policy coordination, and banking standards, a lot of those conversations connect back to the BIS. That's why the institution has a nickname. It's called the Central Bank of Central Banks. Now let that sink in. Most people spend their time debating the Federal Reserve, but there's a layer above that where the institutions that run national currencies coordinate policy. That's the system above the system. And the BIS has been quietly sitting at the center of global finance for almost a century. Now here's something else most people don't know. The BIS operates under international protections. Its buildings have special legal status. Certain documents cannot simply be seized. Officials working there have legal protections connected to international law. That doesn't mean it runs the world, but it does mean it was designed to operate independently from political pressure inside any one country. Because central banks needed a neutral place where financial policies could be discussed, that's why the BIS sits in Switzerland. It's considered financially neutral. Global coordination research on the future of money. And if you want to understand where the financial system might be going, you have to watch the institution studying the future of money because the system always leaves clues. Everybody argues about the Federal Reserve like that's the top of the financial system, but there's actually a bank above central banks, the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS. That's where central banks meet. That's where global banking standards get discussed. That's where the institutions controlling national currency coordinate policy. Most people never even knew it existed. That's the system above the system. Now, to understand why the system is changing today, you have to understand the system we've been living under for decades. And that system is built around one currency, the US dollar. But the dollar didn't become dominant by accident. After World War II, the dollar became the backbone of global trade. And after the United States left the gold standard in 1971, a new structure emerged, the petrodollar system. Oil, the most important commodity in the global economy, began being priced in US dollars. If countries wanted to buy oil, they needed dollars. That created global demand for the dollar, and oil-producing countries often recycled those dollars back into US financial markets. Treasury bonds, American investments, US assets. That system helped reinforce the dollar's role as the world's reserve currency. But here's the part most people leave out. Currencies don't dominate the world just because of economics. They dominate because of power. The United States has the largest military in the world. The U.S. Navy protects major shipping routes across the planet. Global trade moves through oceans secured by international alliances. That stability matters because trade requires security. So when commodities are priced in dollars, they're participating in a system backed by economic strength and military power. That's the world we've been living in for the last 50 years. But systems eventually evolve, and the moment that forced the financial system to start questioning itself was the financial crisis of 2008. Now check this out. In 2008, the global financial system nearly collapsed. Banks have been issuing risky mortgage loans for years, loans to people who couldn't realistically afford them, subprime mortgages, adjustable rate loans, debt designed to explode later. But the real problem was how the loans were packaged. Banks bundled thousands of mortgages together into complex financial products. Then they sold those products all over the world. Investment funds bought them, pension funds bought them, financial institutions everywhere held them. So when homeowners start defaulting, The problem spread across the entire financial system. Major banks collapsed, Lehman Brothers failed, credit markets froze. The entire financial system was suddenly at risk. Government stepped in with massive bailout. Central banks injected enormous amounts of money into the system. Banks were rescued, but millions of ordinary people were losing homes. Families were being wiped out financially, and the moment shattered trust in the banking system. People started asking a simple question. If the system failed, why do banks get saved? That loss of trust created the environment where something new could emerge. And in 2009, something did. Bitcoin. Bitcoin was released by someone using the name Satoshi Nakamoto. No one knows exactly who Satoshi is, but the technology they introduced changed the conversation about money forever. Because Bitcoin introduced digital money that doesn't require a bank. It runs on a blockchain, a distributed ledger. Instead of one institution verifying transactions, thousands of computers around the world maintain a network. No central authority, no bank, no government controlling it. Just mathematics and network consensus. And the very first Bitcoin block included a message referencing the 2008 crisis. It was a response to a financial system people no longer trusted. Bitcoin introduced a new idea: ownership instead of permission, self-custody instead of reliance on banks. And once that technology existed, even the institutions running the financial system had to start paying attention. Bitcoin didn't appear out of nowhere. It appeared right after the financial system nearly collapsed. Banks got rescued, people's lost homes, trust in the system shattered. And then suddenly, this new technology shows up. Digital money. No banks, no central authority, just a network. That's why Bitcoin became more than technology. It became a financial philosophy. Ownership instead of permission. Now here's where the story moves forward. Because the institutions running the financial system didn't ignore blockchain, they started studying it. Central banks began experimenting with digital currency, new payment rails, new settlement systems, digital infrastructure designed to move money faster. And at the same time, stablecoins started growing inside the crypto ecosystem. Digital dollars moving across blockchain networks, billions of dollars moving without traditional banking rails. Two systems starting to collide: the traditional financial system and the new digital financial infrastructure. And that leads to the biggest question of all: who will control the rails of digital money? Because the future of money will likely be digital, but digital money comes in two very different forms: decentralized systems like Bitcoin and centralized systems like central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. And CBDCs are not crypto. Crypto removes the intermediary. CBDCs place the intermediary directly inside the system. Programmable money, permission access, central control. Two different visions of the future: open networks or controlled infrastructure, ownership or permission. And that's the real conversation happening in the financial world right now. Because whoever controls the rails controls how money moves. And once you understand that, you start seeing the financial system very differently. Here's what you should be watching right now. Watch the growth of stablecoins. Watch central banks experiment with digital currency. Watch new cross-border payment networks, because the system always leaves clues. And the clues right now are pointing towards one thing: the financial infrastructure of the world is being rebuilt. Take care, loved ones. I'm Crypto Stock Markets, and I'll get up with y'all tomorrow.